Hello and welcome to my channel. Today it's about Christmas, well at least a Christmas transmission from the SAQ transmitter. I'm holding this because it's an audio preamplifier for microphones, which I'm using as a radio receiver. More about that later. The SAQ transmitter is in Sweden, transmits on 17.2 kilohertz, which is, that's kilohertz, not megahertz. That's just at the top end of the human audio hearing range, but it's a radio signal and transmitted from Sweden, and you can receive it over very, very large different distances. They have an output power of 200 kilowatts. The antenna is, I wrote it down, 2,200 meter long piece of wire, and it's strung out across 6 towers, which are 127 meters high. So that's quite a monstrous antenna. I received it using this. This is the PA0RDT MiniWhip, which is 4 centimeters long inside. It's a plate of PCB material with a preamp and coax indoors, about 15 meters of coax to the power supply unit, bias T, which supplies the 12 volt input at the side through the coax to the preamplifier here. It's mounted outside on a balcony away from sources of noise inside of the building. As soon as you bring it inside you hear nothing except noise, but outside you can receive the signal, and it actually works quite well. So yeah, not quite 2,200 meters long, but it works. And for the receiver, the first part, I use this, which is the S by HF Plus Discovery. Tiny, tiny little receiver, works extremely well. It's the most sensitive and lowest noise HF receiver I have, I think, when I compare them. Works extremely well, but it's not cheap. Cheaper solution was to use this that I showed earlier from Behringer. It's a German design, made in China, audio amplifier for studio audio. Costs about $50. Has 2 inputs for microphones. I use the XLR input, the fatter one with 3 pins, and connect it to a BNC adapter to the antenna, and that seems to work remarkably well. I just use one channel. I don't use the 1/4 inch input because it has lower sensitivity, and it has a built-in amplifier with adjustable gain and sampling rate of 192 kilohertz, which means it'll receive signals of from 0 up to 96 kilohertz, so it's fine for 17.2, and it worked really well, as you'll see. Oh yeah, I forgot this. It's Christmas. And it's a Christmas message that's broadcast from SAQ. I only caught the end of it because I sort of overslept, and by the time I got everything set up, it was a bit late. And I'm also trying to record and make this video using Linux because I'm moving away from Windows completely for obvious reasons. If you don't know why, then you need to find out. And normally I use Ubuntu for radio-related projects. I was having problems with sampling rates and audio and software that didn't want to work at the full sampling rate. Things to do with pulse audio and pipewire and all kinds of things, and editing config files. And I discovered that Linux Mint, which is more ready configured for end users, actually worked straight away, immediately able to show the full 96 kilohertz bandwidth from this receiver, which is really an amplifier, on SDR++, also called SDR-PP. SDR Angel is another thing. I've still got to find the right config file to edit to be able to get the full bandwidth. Otherwise it defaults to 24 kilohertz maximum input signal, which would have been fine for today, but I want to see the whole thing. So I'm still playing with that, but I'm recording this video and editing it with Linux Mint because it seems to work best of all for doing things like this. So let's move on to look at the first recording that I made this morning. CW, Morse code, so it's just sending V's in a row and then from SAQ. You'll see that the signal to noise ratio is about probably 25 dBs, and that's using this tiny little receiver and the antenna that I showed you earlier, this big. So it's a very compact kit, but you need to get it outdoors in free space and not try to use it indoors. So here's the first recording. And now, for comparison purposes, I'm going to show you the second recording with the device that cost 5 times less than that HF Plus receiver. This is just an audio preamp and much cheaper, but you'll see that the performance is really good for receiving VLF transmissions, and actually it's almost identical. And I'm listening to 300 Hz bandwidth, so it's quite a narrow filter I'm listening with, and again you get around 25 dB signal to noise ratio. So let's have a look at that. As you can see, that's the very end of the transmission after the Christmas message in Morse, because it ends in diddly-da-di-da, which is end of transmission. So there we are. That's the SAQ reception experiment. They transmit twice a year, so the next time probably will be in June. And by then I'll have developed a few more antennas to play with. I'm playing with loop antennas, ferrite rod antennas. Some work better than others, but nothing so far works as well as this. It's not annoying me, but it's motivating me to try and find a better antenna than this. And so far I haven't managed to make one, which is amazing. And this is, again, also about $50 for an antenna with preamp built in and the bias T. So happy experimenting. Let's see what I get up to next.